Are you a parent or a caregiver of a child who's around 3 years old? Maybe they've just turned 3, or they're between the age of 3 and 3.5, and maybe they've just started attending preschool. And as the parent of any preschooler would know, preschooler is a very important time, especially when it comes to taking turns and engaging with other children. So if a child is not comfortable taking turns with others, this can be a little bit of a transition and a rough spot for any preschooler. So what can you do to help your preschooler take more turns? Well, you've come to the right place. Hi, my name is Amini. I'm a speech and language pathologist with several years of experience working with children and their parents to maximize speech and language development. I also have my own practice, Smarter Speech, in the Bay Area, California, where I do the same. And my mission with this YouTube channel is to empower parents and caregivers of children, especially under the ages of 5, because this is when a child's brain is developing so rapidly. And little things that you do when you change the way you talk or change the way that you play can have big implications for how speech and language develop later, which in turn has big implications for how learning progresses later on in life. So if you can do little things in a day to make all of this happen, why not? Without further ado, let's get started. How to help your preschooler take more turns. So the first and easiest way to help a preschooler take more turns is just to engage in less stressful activities that involve just a little turn taking in the beginning. So for example, you can set aside 10 or 15 minutes for arts and crafts, and you and your child can do them together. And say you're just doing something as simple as coloring with some markers. So maybe you're coloring and then you need the color that your child is using. So maybe you're using blue, your child is using green, you need green. So after your child is done, you can say, can I please have a turn? After you're done, I need green. So what you've done here is you've sown the seeds for your child sharing that green when they're done, for them taking a turn with that green. Similarly, if you're working with blue and your child really wants the blue marker, instead of just grabbing it from you, you can use this as a teaching moment and say, oh, it looks like you want the green marker. So remember, you have to ask. You can say, can I please have a turn with the blue marker? So what you've done here is you've made your child aware of asking for a turn and also waiting for a turn, because the child has to wait until you've finished your picture. So something just as simple as coloring can have a huge implication for turn taking. Same thing with anything else that you do in arts and crafts. So maybe both of you only have one glue stick while you're gluing something onto a paper. You're going to have to take turns with that glue stick. You're going to have to say, can I have a turn next? Or if you're using the glue stick, your child is going to have to ask you. So that's a really nice, natural way that you can teach turn taking. And last, I love doing turn taking with Play-Doh, just because when I'm using Play-Doh tools, the same thing tends to happen. Maybe I'm rolling the Play-Doh and the child wants a turn, or the child is rolling Play-Doh, I want a turn, or maybe I want to turn with the blue Play-Doh instead of the white Play-Doh, or maybe I want to use this pizza cutter for my pizza, whatever it is. You're going to be engaging in nice, easy, simple turn taking to your child, which makes your child kind of open up slowly and steadily, instead of just forcing the turns in a way that might have them turn away or might have them not want to play with you. So that's the first one, is to introduce this idea with easy activities like arts and crafts, coloring, gluing, dot markers, Play-Doh, all of those are good. My next suggestion is to then start to slowly introduce turn taking with more structure. So the first thing that I do is I start working with cards. So at the age of 3, a child can start to play basic card games and can understand playing basic card games. So for example, this I Found It Disney version is such a fun game. And there's just these Disney scenes where you have to find certain things. So maybe you have to find a clock on this paper. So maybe you'll say, can you find a clock? And you give it to your child. If they're stuck and they can't find it, you can say, oh, can I have a turn? I'll see if I can help you and I can find the clock. So what you did here is you got your child used to taking a turn. Maybe on the next one, you're going to try the turn first. Okay, my turn. I'm going to look for a diamond. I can't find it. Your turn. Can you find a diamond? Again, nice, easy, not that much pressure turn taking. If your child is good with that, you can also work on turn taking with matching games. So again, you're going to take turns. You're going to take a turn to turn 2 cards over, and maybe you're going to say my turn first before you turn the cards over, and then your child is going to take a turn, then the child. Matching is great because there are so many turns before you find the matching cards. So if your child is doing well with turn taking in a less structured setting, you can move on to something like this because it involves many back and forth turns, 1, 2, 3, all the way to 24 plus. So just playing this for 10 or 15 minutes a day really trained your child to do quite a bit of back and forth turns. Another one that I really like to do is Uno Junior. So Uno Junior is for children above the age of 3. It's very easy. It's got cute characters like Paw Patrol characters. And if your child is doing really well with structured games like matching, you can start to work on taking turns here too. Again, when it's your turn with your cards, you would say, my turn. When it's the child's turn with the child's card, they'd say, my turn, etc., etc. So card games are a great way to prime your child for taking more turns in preschool. And after you've done a few of these card games like Uno, Matching, Spot It, or I Found It, that's when I would move to actually playing formal board games. So with formal board games, you're doing a couple of things. You're training your child to follow the rules of the board game, to accommodate another communication partner in the board game, and to sustain that interaction for quite a while, at least until the board game is done. So for example, I have this Pete the Cat board game. I love my buttons. Here you would be taking turns, spinning, and then picking out buttons for your specific Pete, right? So again, we're training the child to follow the rule of first spinning, then giving the spinner to somebody else, and then following the directions of the game. With these sort of board games, normally I can also introduce other players. So say dad is playing with the child, mom can also come play. Or if mom is playing, sibling can also come play. But my general rule of thumb is I would wait until the child is okay taking turns with one member before adding more members, just because the more people there are, the more overwhelming it can be. So you want to start out with just one partner and sharing that turn with just one partner. And as you start to get some success or the game starts to go on for a little bit longer, then you can add on more communication partners. Another game that I like is this Snail's Race. Again, this one's a great one for preschoolers. The age range is 3 plus. All you have to do is you have to roll a dice. And then when you roll a dice, you get to move your snail across the racing track. So again, same concepts here with the turn taking and adding more people only when your child is comfortable. So a caveat with these turn taking activities, especially the more structured ones like card games and board games, you want to increase the duration with time. You want to ease your child into it. So in the beginning, when you try this, if your child can only do this for 2 minutes and then they quit, that's okay. You want to try to engage for a little bit longer, but you don't want to push past a certain point. You can tell when your child is getting upset or doesn't want to play anymore. What you can do, though, is after a couple of days, you can try a different version of the game or a different game and just have a small aim of going for just a minute longer and seeing if your child can sustain just a minute longer. So don't push, have modest goals. And with time, there will come a day when your child wants to play those games with you, when all of that priming and that teaching will really come and aid you in teaching your child more turns. All right, so those are my 3 tips for increasing turn taking in preschoolers. If you want to find out about the basics of turn taking, I would check out my toddler turn taking video. That one has a little bit more in terms of basics of turn taking, and your child should optimally have at least some of those skills before they work on turn taking at the preschool level. So you can check that out. And if you enjoyed this tip, you can also check out some of the links in the description box below, where I've got a link to our mailing list with free speech and language tips that are sent to your inbox every month. There's also a link to our ebook, parent education courses, and some of the cards and games that I demoed in this video. Last but certainly not least, if you continue to be concerned about your child's social skills or their ability to interact with others, normally when you first join school, you want to give a few months of wiggle room just for a child to get used to all the different partners that are available, to all the different people that are available. But if you're really still not seeing growth after some months, it's worth it to talk to your child's preschool teacher, see if they recommend talking to a speech therapist. You can always schedule an evaluation. And then if you feel good about that, then you can proceed with what steps they suggest, or you can just mention your concerns to your pediatrician. Either way, if you're concerned, please don't wait. Seek out a professional for some help. Earlier is always better. All right, so I hope these tips helped you. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please subscribe to get more speech and language videos and tips. And happy talking.